Step right up, dummies, and listen to the stupidest sports show on earth with Rodney Newpole and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah.
Well, hello, dummies, and welcome to episode number 48 of the stupidest sports show on earth. My name, as you all know, is Tim Beast Mode Van Stratton. With me is Rodney Newpole. Good morning, Rodney. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fired up for today. I'm like so I'm like second in the power rankings to John Rothstein, probably, who's already had like 4 cups of coffee and he's got all the college basketball in his mind. But yeah, I'm excited. Big day today. College basketball tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the madness starts next week. Probably a little more rested than you are. Yeah. So I just got to mention this. Your dedication to this show is just tremendous.
Thank
3
you.
in the morning where you are. 3?
Thank you.
3 in the morning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thank you for acknowledging that. Yes, I due to the events that happened on Sunday, I decided, you know what is best? I just need to leave. I need to leave the mainland. I need to just decompress. So that's what I did. I hopped on a bird, as the kids say. I headed to Hawaii, Kauai, the farthest possible island away from, our home, if you like talking Hawaii. So yeah, I arrived yesterday. Plane landed at the equivalent of like 9:30 p.m. Central. But then you know how it goes. You got to get the car, and then you got to get something to eat, and it's a whole thing, and yada yada. The point being, I woke up about 6 minutes before we started this show. Now, as a professional, I'm not going to let that impact my performance because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. There are a lot of topics that you have so graciously put on the card today. So I'm fired up. I may not sound like I'm fired up, but I can promise you deep in my loins, I am very excited about today's show. It feels like it's time.
Might as well be. It might as well be
outside.
Well, the good news is after you're done at 4 in the morning Hawaii time, you'll have the rest of the day to do as you wish, whatever you choose to do there, and enjoy. So we're getting nice weather here. I'm sure you're getting even nicer weather there. What is it, mid-80s this time of year?
It's like 70s, mid-70s. Yeah.
So we're going
to mostly sun, occasional rain that will just come in because the island's basically a rainforest, but that's fine. It's
so
nice.
basically here in Illinois, we're getting the same type of weather as you today.
Yes.
Yeah. For one day. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started with the show. You can follow us on Twitter at Stupid Sports Show. No W on the end of that Twitter account or X account. But follow us there. That's probably where you found the live stream this morning. Let's go talk NFL. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the NFL. You are our lead coverage guy for the NFL. Let's break down where some of these guys went, where some of the bigger names went, and then maybe some of our thoughts about those signings or trades that happened in the NFL.
So it's funny. I'm more pissed off at who hasn't signed, and that's really like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I just want a quarterback. At this point, man, I don't care who the Giants get. I just want someone. This is now day 3 of the NFL free agency that we are about to hit today. And I'm like, just tell me, man, this sucks. Just waiting and seeing and who so-and-so is interested in this, but maybe is just gesturing to try to get a better contract with someone else. I don't know, but just give me a damn quarterback. That's all I want. That's all I want. Just someone. But no, like to answer your question though, like as far as the bigger signings that we've had, I mean it would probably have to be Sam Darnold. I mean quarterback. Yeah. That's the sexiest option, and he's got $100 million contract. So the Seahawks trade Geno Smith for a second rounder, and they replace him with Sam Darnold, which on paper, just given the age and the production from last year, it's like, okay, I can see it. But Sam Darnold now goes to an environment that he doesn't have nearly the amount of receivers that he had in Minnesota, right? They trade DK Metcalf. They cut Tyler Lockett. So he goes to Seattle. He doesn't have 2 of the top 3 weapons from last year. He doesn't have the guiding hand, right, of the Minnesota coaching staff to help him in Seattle. I'm very fascinated to see how this is going to play out, and I'm curious to know if you feel the same way. And we both agree that Minnesota probably shouldn't extend him, which they did. But as far as from the Seattle perspective, how do you think they fared here?
Yeah, no, I don't love the move for Seattle. I don't know as if Sam Darnold showed he had that, and we've talked about this numerous times, that he had that big boom in him, but he also had a great big bust in him as well. Whereas Geno Smith, I mean, I felt like he was it's hard to say Geno Smith was consistent, but I felt like you knew what you were going to get with Geno Smith, right? Like you knew you were going to get, you knew the weapons around him at that point. Now they needed a change. I don't know as if this was the Seattle. Where are they? I mean, they're still probably the bottom of the NFC West with Arizona, right? Like San Francisco and LA should probably still be better. Now, obviously, LA has some veteran questions. They're old at this point, with Matthew Stafford coming back, signing Devontae Adams, who's old. So there's some questions there, but I think Seattle's probably third or fourth in the NFC West, regardless of their moves.
Yeah, I as you know, I don't love Seattle just in general, and I always look at their roster and going into a year, and I'm like, I don't think this Seahawks team is going to be any good. And then they win 10 games. They were a 10-game winner last year. So I just to me, this move, I think you hit it right on the head. If it ends up working out and this is Baker Mayfield 2.0, fantastic. I'm less confident about that. I think Baker Mayfield went into a really enviable position, even though it was replacing Tom Brady, because he had Mike Evans, he had Chris Godwin. Like, there seemed to be a real sort of core in place that Sam Darnold isn't going to have in Seattle. So I'm very nervous about it.
Yeah. Dan says here, as resident Vikings fan, we saw a peak Sam Darnold. I don't know that he'll ever get to that level again. Yeah, I'm that's kind of what I was trying to say too. Like, we saw his big boom, and then we saw kind of what we've seen from Sam Darnold and why he wasn't starting before that. Dan goes also on to say, glad the Vikings didn't extend him, but wishing him luck in Seattle. And then he goes on to say, San Francisco dumped a ton of talent. The Cardinals may be ahead of them by now. I don't know, man. I know they did dump some talent, but like, that's still San Francisco, who still went to back-to-back Super Bowls, who still has quite a bit of talent. I don't know. I don't know as if Arizona jumps ahead of San Francisco for me. We're not ready to make predictions yet, but your thoughts there, right? Instant thoughts, Arizona, San Francisco.
I'm kind of leaning toward Dan here.
Okay.
I'm kind of leaning toward Dan. And it's funny. I was thinking about the 49ers as well, because it seems like they have really decided to clear out space. Now, this could be for a couple different reasons, and I'll explain in a second. But some of the guys that the 49ers have let go, whether they've cut them, whether they've left via free agency, traded. So the big ones, you have Deebo Samuel, who they traded. You have Javon Hargrave, one of their really good defensive linemen, who they released. Kyle Juszczyk, fullback, but important member of that team for many years. Leonard Floyd, also released. As far as free agents that they let sign elsewhere, Dre Greenlaw, Travarius Ward, who is one of the better cornerbacks on the market, he left and went to the Colts. And they've really only added, their biggest signing was Luke Farrell, the former Jaguars tight end, for 3 years, $20 million, to be essentially the number 2 to George Kittle. That's it. Yeah. But this is where I think it gets interesting for the 49ers. And I can't remember who brought this up yesterday when I was just doing some looking into it. But do you think that it's possible that the 49ers want to try to clear out a good portion of their players to really say, all right, we're not going to be a Super Bowl favorite, So now we can really see how Brock Purdy fares without all of this help around him to know if he's actually deserving of getting $50+ million a year in a future extension. Does that make sense? It's like, all right, we know you can play when you have all of these great players by your side on both sides of the football, right?
Yeah.
So where do you think
that,
do you think San Francisco is looking at it like that, to where it's like, all right, well, now at least at worst we could see, is Brock Purdy going to be worth the money when we inevitably have to let some of these guys go? I mean, that's something we have been talking about for months, is that team is not going to be able to be in place once they start paying him $50-60 million a year.
So 2025 is a trial year, and San Francisco is really okay with whatever results come about to get their answer to 26 and beyond. Yeah, no, I think that's probably a good thought. And so that obviously opens the door, if they're not going to be all that competitive, to Arizona or to LA Rams, or maybe Seattle is better. That's an interesting thought. That definitely is an interesting thought. Not one that I came up with and thought of too much. Like, you think of San Francisco, oh, they're back. They're ready to compete. They're going to, they're going to flip the switch from last year. But that's an interesting thought. And good luck to Brock Purdy. Good. I mean, that's a big challenge right there. I'm going to get rid of your talent, and I'm going to see if you're talented. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily like the NFL version of Major League, where you have them deliberately trying to put out the worst team on the field, but I think it's telling that they have gotten rid of a lot of big, significant veterans, right? Including some guys on the offensive side of the football, mainly Deebo Samuel, who would directly benefit Brock Purdy. And they haven't really replaced them with anyone of note. Conversely, so it's all right, we're going to clear out space, we're going to clear out talent. Now, of course, that could be just to prepare for a future quarterback extension, but they still got a year of cheap Brock Purdy, and maybe this is sort of how they can really determine if he is worthy of being their franchise quarterback, which is insane to talk about, considering he led them to almost winning the Super Bowl. Took them to overtime in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I like that thought. Staying in the division, do you like the signing of Davante Adams to the Rams? Because, like, he's old at this point, and he's been around, and he hasn't been happy, and he's been just off and on productive. I don't know, like, getting rid of Cooper Kupp for Davante Adams, I'm not sure where I stand with that. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, are we sure that it's an upgrade for sure? I mean, here's the thing. So Cooper Kupp didn't end the season on a particularly high note. Davante Adams, at least to his credit, seemed to, as the season went on, was becoming more and more of a factor for the Jets. Granted, the Jets were playing in a lot of meaningless games at that point. I mean, Davante Adams is going to be 33 in December. I don't know what Cooper Kupp is, but I would imagine Cooper Kupp is a little bit younger than that. Right. So, yeah, I'm really not sure what to make of it. But this is where I do have confidence. It seems like the Rams and Sean McVay do a good job of getting a lot of production out of their receivers. There's a reason why Puka Nacua is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. And a lot of their role players have really shown sparks once they get into McVay's offense. So I think it can work. I'm curious to know where Cooper Kupp will end up as a result of all this and how his production will look away from the Rams. But, I mean, on paper, Davante Adams, Puka Nacua should be, I guess, similar to what they had before. So all that to say, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of an upgrade. I don't think it's going to be a night and day thing, but I don't think they got worse.
Yeah.
I don't think they got worse with Davante Adams. And he has a pretty good track record injury-wise, knock on wood. So
another team I wanted to talk about, because this is one of your former guys. Daniel Jones went to the Colts. So there's going to be a quarterback competition there, right? Between two guys that can't throw it and both can run it. I mean, they've both put up productive ground games, but neither one of them have shown the ability to necessarily chuck the ball down the field with any effectiveness. Thoughts, Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson going into the 2025 season?
I mean, what is there to say about Daniel Jones at this point? He's not good. He's not enjoyable to watch. I think that he will end up starting games for the Colts because Anthony Richardson no one in their right mind should believe that Anthony Richardson will start 17 games for the Colts this year.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So Daniel Jones is going to play there. Now, I think the Colts are a better spot for him than what the Giants have been the last couple of years. Do I think that he's going to have this Darnold-esque turnaround? No, of course not. But I'll say this: if Anthony Richardson loses the job to Daniel Jones, straight up loses the job to him, not because of injury, but just like bad performance, like you are this bad, I think you have to consider the UFL or the Indoor Football League or rugby. Maybe just leaving football altogether, like the National Football League. Because you can't get beat out by Daniel Jones and not when you were a top 5 pick in the draft just a couple years ago. No, not.
Which is exactly there what Dan says. If Daniel Jones wins the starting job in Indy, Anthony Richardson is done in the NFL. Yeah,
he should be.
Yeah, no, you can't lose that quarterback battle to Daniel Jones, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they signed him for a reason. He's certainly going to get a chance to compete. Did we talk Geno Smith to the Raiders?
We mentioned it a little bit when we were talking about Seattle and Darnold. Now, in hindsight, Geno makes sense with the Raiders, and we were all just assuming Russell Wilson was going to end up there because of the Pete Carroll connection, but Geno Smith is an interesting one, and probably better than Russell Wilson would be at this point. And now the Raiders don't feel obligated to push for a quarterback at number 6. Do you think they're a potential spot for Ashton Genty?
Yeah, I could see that. I still am very, very much on the Ashton Genty to the Bears, but Raiders picked before them, so this could be an opportunity for them. Yeah, I guess I could see that because they need kind of that lead back. Yeah, I hadn't considered that because they are obviously not going quarterback now. That would be an interesting spot for him, and there's nowhere really close to Boise, but he's kind of staying somewhat close. Boise to Vegas is about as close as you're going to get to Boise, right? Let's think about that a second. Is there an NFL team closer to Boise? I guess Seattle. Seattle would be closer, maybe.
Oh, you're really putting my geography to the test here. Yeah, I would say one of those two. Depends where Boise is in Idaho. Like picture Idaho, right?
Yeah.
Weird little shape. Where's Boise in that? I have no idea. I'm sorry if I'm offending the geography experts that are listening to the show right now that are pouring in. I got no idea. So we got Idaho, and then I know Utah's close by, but then you still got a couple states west before you get to Vegas. You can watch, this is a fun research project. I know Dan's listening. I'm sure Dan is already on it right now, just calculating the mileage here.
Boise spent some time in Vegas this year playing in the Mountain West. Mountain West does a lot of their conference stuff in Vegas. It is 9 hours from Boise to Vegas, so not all that close. I would say probably it's closer to Vegas than it is Seattle. Seattle looks like it's going to be a long way away. Anyways, Ashton Genty to Vegas is not a bad option. One more team I wanted to get to, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they don't have a quarterback, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong there. They don't have a quarterback. Justin Fields went to the Jets. I like that move. I like the Jets getting Justin Fields. I don't know what the ceiling is going to be, but like what could be worse for the Jets, right? Like they've struggled for years. Justin Fields taking over for Aaron Rodgers with a different look. Maybe it's some more excitement. I don't know. And then they've obviously let Russell Wilson go too. So where are the Steelers going to go with quarterback?
As of 2 days ago, it seemed like we were really close to Aaron Rodgers being the next Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. All signs seem to be pointing there. And now when you see It doesn't seem like Minnesota is going to be pushing for a veteran quarterback, at least not one that's going to outright take the job from JJ. The Colts have signed theirs. Seahawks made their move. Jets have made their move. The Titans are lurking. But so really all that to say, like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, to me, it feels like those will be the two quarterbacks in play. If Aaron Rodgers chooses Pittsburgh, then Russell Wilson will go to the Giants. If Russell Wilson comes back to Pittsburgh, which I think could be an option if Aaron Rodgers wants too much money or whatever, then I think Rodgers will be a Giant. So I think those are sort of the two dominoes right now between those two teams. If you ask me today, I think Aaron Rodgers does end up in Pittsburgh. I think that he is using the Giants as leverage. I think he wants to go to Pittsburgh because he knows he can win games there. They have good weapons there. They have Mike Tomlin there. It'll be funny to see how it goes with him and DK Metcalf and George Pickens, and just it seems like it's going to be a fun sort of recipe for success and just catastrophe. But yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Steelers quarterback, just based on how things are looking for them.
So what does Russell Wilson do in 2025?
I think if that happens, I think Russell Wilson becomes the next Giants quarterback.
and you're just like, okay, whatever, whoever's quarterbacks, whatever. You just want a quarterback.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, man, I just want a quarterback at this point. I'm officially tired of hoping for so-and-so to end up there, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Last week I said I'm excited. I think the Giants are going to trade up to number 1 for Cam Ward. But I was like, Tim, don't be stupid. Of course it's not going to happen, because the Titans are going to fall in love with Cam Ward, and they're going to take him. So the Giants are going to miss out on Cam Ward. Shedeur Sanders seems like he's slipping out of the first round now altogether. So I'm like, okay, whatever, man. Just give me a quarterback. Like Russell Wilson for a year, and then you have Tommy DeVito, and then like try to get Arch 26. I don't know, man. Just give me someone. Just give me someone. I don't care anymore. It's just so
all right.
annoying.
Let's turn to the not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4-time offseason champions. The 2022, 23, 24, and 25 offseason champions. The Chicago Bears have won their 4th straight offseason. They traded for Jonah Jackson, and they got the offensive guard from the Chiefs. Joe, I forget his last name.
Thuney.
Yeah, Thuney. And then they've signed a bunch of guys. Grady Jarrett was one. They signed an edge rusher. Anyways, let's talk Chicago Bears. Are we ready? Are we finally ready that all this hype is going to convert into wins? Now they are in the NFC North. We've talked about the NFC North being loaded. Like there is no bottom team in the NFC North right now besides the Chicago Bears. Maybe Minnesota if their quarterback situation does not work out for them. Thoughts on the off-season champion Chicago Bears?
Well, the Bears did the opposite of what they did last year, in the sense that last year it was, hey, let's get our rookie quarterback a bunch of weapons, right? They drafted Rome Odunze. They acquired Keenan Allen. They signed DeAndre Swift. The year before that, they got DJ Moore. And we knew this going in, looking at that paper. Hey, that offensive line is still really bad. And sure enough, it was really bad. Shocker.
Really bad.
So this year, they're like, you know what we need to do? We need to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on this offensive line and our defensive line. And that's what they've done. I mean, these are big contracts. Now, the trades for the two offensive linemen, I think they're each have just 1 year on their deals, but Joe Thuney is probably an extension candidate. And I think the Bears, I wouldn't be surprised if they do sign him to an extension. And then you have free agency. You mentioned Grady Jarrett. That's a 3-year deal with almost $30 million guaranteed. Dayo Odeyingbo is the defensive end.
Yes.
It's from the Colts. That's another one. That's $48 million with 32 of it guaranteed. Their center, Drew Dahlman, is 28 guaranteed over 3 years. So they're spending a lot of money now to make sure that Caleb Williams never gets touched and that the quarterbacks on the other side are constantly under pressure. Conventional wisdom says that is a good way to spend money. However, conventional conventional wisdom also says that when you are a bad team like the Bears were last year, throwing money at free agency to try to solve all your problems historically doesn't work. So it's have they improved? Yes. Have they won the offseason? Of course. It's the most under talked about dynasty in sports right now, the Chicago Bears offseason championship dynasty. Do I think that they are better than Detroit? No. Do I think they're better than Green Bay? No. Minnesota, if JJ McCarthy sucks, then that's going to be a disaster for them. But if JJ McCarthy ends up being really good and benefiting from Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson, like how Sam Darnold did. I mean, the Vikings have also spent a lot of money in free agency. They've really made some good additions to their team, especially on defense. I think the Bears, realistically, we could look at them and say, yeah, that's still a fourth place team right now in the North.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not ready to buy into the hype yet either. I mean, yes. And part of that was obviously the struggles of his line, but we got to have those answers before I'm ready to commit with the Chicago Bears. But they did sign a bunch of guys. That's for sure. What about, so real quick, Buffalo Bills just last night, I think, signed Joey Bosa. Is Joey Bosa still that difference maker? I mean, that's a big name. That's a $12.6 million contract. Buffalo could use some help. I mean, they're right there on the fringe of competing still. Or winning still. Joey Bosa, the Bills. Is that a game changer?
So Joey Bosa, like if I didn't say anything about Joey Bosa to you, and this was the first that you had heard, would you have assumed that he's still like an All-Pro? Because that's how I felt too. When I was like, what?
Yeah,
shocked. Because I just assumed that Joey Bosa was still an elite edge rusher, and he still could be. I mean, there's injury issues, but yeah, I think it's a good move for Buffalo. It's very low risk. It's 1 year. They need to try to get as much talent as possible and cheap talent now that Josh Allen is going to be making an unprecedented amount of money. So, yeah, I think it's a good move for Buffalo. I hope it works out for them. I'd like to see new blood come out of the AFC. And I'll give you a rare March 12th prediction. I think there will be new blood coming out of the AFC. I don't think the Chiefs are going to make it back to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think Nick Bosa further helps Buffalo in its quest to finally win the AFC.
Joey Bosa or Josh Allen, you mentioned it. 6 years, $330 million.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money. And weren't they talking about Brock Purdy getting $60 million a year?
That. The idea was for Brock Purdy to get a contract that was comparable with the other top contracts that were handed out, which based on how it works with quarterback money just increasing year over year, yeah, it was probably going to be around $60 million. But now San Francisco can confidently say if he's worth that because they gutted their whole team. They're going to be like, all right, Brock, good luck. And if he pulls out a 10-win season for them in those conditions, then I think that they have their answer.
I mean, Josh Allen is getting what, 6 for $330, so that's what is that per year? 50 something?
55, yeah.
Yeah, so if Josh Allen's getting 55, Brock Purdy ain't getting 60. He ain't getting 60. I'm amazed by that. The $60 million thought that came with Brock Purdy. Like, that's not going to happen. I don't know where Brock Purdy's going to fall, but it ain't going to be 60 million. Anyways, all right. Any other teams or thoughts in the NFL before we move on? DeAndre Hopkins signed with the Ravens. I know he's old, but he signed there. Just kind of going through any of the other signings. Any others that jump to mind to you?
I missed the DeAndre Hopkins one. That's an interesting one, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like the Ravens love these veteran wide receivers. Like they'll like, all right, Lamar, we'll get you your weapons, but they're going to be big names. But they're going to be big names probably 6 years after they're really difference makers. But no, I think the one defensive tackle that the Patriots have spent a lot of money, in which they had money to spend. I mean, they were still a bad team last year. That was if they lose week 18, they have the number 1 pick in the draft. So this isn't a team that's anywhere close to contending, but they've spent a ton of money, mainly Milton Williams, the defensive tackle from the Eagles. 4 years, $104 million. And I bet if you asked NFL fans who Milton Williams is, you would probably get the correct answer from 15% of them. And maybe I should be generous. Rodney, if your Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl, did you know anything about who Milton Williams was before the free agency started?
I did not. Yeah. I do not know Milton Williams. Yeah. So, that's probably it on the NFL. We'll spend more time, obviously, Friday and into next week with any more news that comes about, but plenty going on in the NFL. And congratulations, Chicago Bears, 4-time offseason champions.
Hang the banner. Hang the banner.
Chicago. Order the rings. Get the shirts going. For a few minutes here. Now, obviously, you are angered because your Bradley Braves fell on Sunday. But Drake's better, right? Drake's better than Bradley. Can you admit that, or was it just a bad Sunday?
No, Drake's better. They won 29 games last year. They're a better team, better defensively. Not better offensively if you look at the season, but this weekend they certainly were. Bradley had 3 straight days of terrible shooting. They scraped past a Valparaiso team that was the second worst team in the Valley that had been playing 2 games Thursday, Friday, and they could barely beat them on Saturday. Yeah, I'm not surprised based on that. I expected Bradley, after playing poorly Friday, Saturday, to play better Sunday. That didn't happen. They scored 27 points in the first half, 21 points in the second half. They didn't hit shots. They turned the ball over. They got out-rebounded like crazy. And it infuriated me. So much so that I had to literally fly across the Pacific Ocean and do the show in Hawaii because I couldn't be near the Carver Arena, right? I had to get away. The vibes were that bad for me.
Yeah. So Drake made the NCAA tournament. Now we don't have to hear them. Are they going to make it? Are they not going to make it? They're obviously in. Drake, a team that's probably, I don't know, where do we see Drake? They're probably like a 10, right? They're probably like
10,
a 10
11.
seed.
10, 11, I guess. Yeah, it just sort of depends on the other teams that clinch bids. But I mean, before last weekend, I think they were being projected as an 11. But now, a 3-loss season, conference championship, I think 10 is a good spot for them. I would have no issues putting them as a 10. And boy, if you are 7 seed, that's a scary team to face. Now, that said, and maybe this is just bitter Bradley fan talking, I don't think Drake wins a tournament game just based on their style of play, their defense. I don't think they will get away with as much of the hand checking that they're able to do in the Valley. That's just me. Maybe I'm bitter. I don't know. But I think it has to be a really, really lopsided matchup for Drake to win a tournament game, which they haven't done, by the way, the last couple of years. The last 2 years that they did make the tournament, they haven't won. So
I don't want to see my floundering Kansas Jayhawks as a 7 seed against Drake, though. I don't want that. I don't want that. I'd rather see like a 10-seeded Indiana. Somebody that's just finding their way in that maybe doesn't even deserve. I don't want to see 29-3 Drake in the first round. It's not exciting for me as a Kansas fan. It's exciting for Drake because that's a game they can win. But that'll be interesting to see. Selection Sunday comes up this Sunday, and we'll have brackets then. Teams that are in the NCAA tournament, I know you're surprised by this, but last night, late at night, it was the West Coast Conference Finals.
Who?
Gonzaga beat St. Mary's.
What?
Gonzaga beat St. Mary's. It was the 28th straight time that Gonzaga has been in there. 28 straight tournament final for Gonzaga. They've been in the West Coast Conference Finals 28 straight years. That's crazy.
All right. So as much as we were confounded by the way that the bracket is structured for the WCC, and granted, it does make it very easy for Gonzaga and St. Mary's to reach the title game. That said, 28 straight years where Gonzaga hasn't even lost a semifinal game.
No.
Like, you would think somewhere along those lines, they would have had just a bad night. They never had a bad – and it's funny, too, because looking at yesterday, statistically, they had a really bad night. But they still won. Like, offensively, they had a bad night. So, like, it's amazing, though, that they've had that they either have had no bad nights for almost 30 years, or they do have bad nights, but it doesn't matter. So that's crazy. That's one of the most under talked about like storylines in college basketball is just Gonzaga and how they are just a mainstay in this title game for the conference year over year, no matter what. They've never just had an off year by any means.
Yeah, 58-51 over St. Mary's. Other teams in the NCAA tournament, let's run down the list, see if you've even heard of some of these programs. Robert Morris University, they won Horizon last night. St. Francis, the Red Flash, they won their conference championship last night, 46-43.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see them as a 16 seed that I have to debate whether they're going to win.
North Carolina Wilmington made it. That's pretty good for North Carolina because the Tar Heels may not make this tournament, which is wild. But UNC Wilmington did. They beat the Delaware Blue Hens late last night. The Omaha Mavericks, that's the team that does like the WWE stuff in the locker room. They take the garbage cans and they slam them down. The school president came out of a garbage can to like celebrate with them one time. It's kind of cool, but if you haven't seen that, check it out. Omaha is in the tournament. Troy University won the Sun Belt. Wofford, the Terriers, they're in. Drake, as you mentioned. High Point University. How about High Point? That's interesting. Do we know where High Point is? It's somewhere out in the Carolinas, right?
No clue. You can tell me any state in the world. You can tell me Boise, Idaho. I'd have no idea.
Lipscomb University, the Bison, they won the Atlantic Sun. And then the first team that made the tournament was right here in Illinois. Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. The Cougars are in the tournament for the first time ever. Any of these teams jump out to you like, yeah, they sound like a team that might win a tournament game or two?
Well, the two that come to mind are ones, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Rodney. Doesn't it feel like Wofford and Lipscomb are quietly teams that we see a lot in this tournament, at least in recent years?
Yeah, Wofford for sure. I can agree with you on Wofford. Lipscomb, yeah, they've been in it. I don't know as if a lot, but the Wofford Terriers were actually the 6th seed in their conference tournament. I watched a little bit of their game against Furman last night. It was the 5 versus the 6. And but this is a good team. I did watch them. I do like them. It'll be interesting. They're going to be like a 14 probably. 15 maybe. Yeah. I don't think they'll fall to 15. But they're going to be one of those teams that if they make shots, look out. But yeah, Wofford is definitely one of them. And Dan mentioned High Point, and High Point, North Carolina. There we go.
I think he's making it up. I think he's lying.
I mean, I'm not surprised that High Point University is in High Point, but I guess I didn't even know there was a High Point, North Carolina. And then what do we got here? 116 from where I live. Oh, hour 16. Very nice. So not very far, Dan. Go over and visit High Point University. But anyways, the rest of the conference tournaments will go on today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I keep forgetting what day it is. Today's Wednesday. I feel like today should be Tuesday. Oh, because we're doing a show. That probably makes sense.
And also it's a morning show. I'm like, oh, today's Friday. So it's just
Friday.
Everything is strange. Everything hurts.
Yeah.
But we're powering through.
Big Ten tournament starts today. Illinois is a 7 seed. Dangerous 7 seed, though, right? That's all we keep hearing. Illinois is a 7 seed. I don't know if it matters who wins the Big Ten tournament, because I think most of the teams that are making the tournament are pretty locked in, and I don't know as if there's a whole lot of question marks with the Big Ten. You're not a big conference tournament guy outside of Missouri Valley. Do some of these tournaments don't matter, do they?
No. No, no, they don't. They don't. No, honestly, the small school ones, the mid majors, those matter a heck of a lot more than the Big Ten was, because I'm pretty sure it's a rule in the NCAA, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm pretty sure it's a rule that if you make the Big Ten tournament, you automatically qualify for a spot in the NCAA tournament. I believe that is how they do this. So congratulations to the 18 Big Ten teams. We'll see you all in the in March Madness. So very exciting. No, this doesn't matter. Like it's great. I'm sure that it's exciting. It's bragging rights to win the Big Ten, I guess. But it's not going to change anything as far as your status for the tournament. I don't know. And yeah, like I don't want to just like crap on people who like conference tournaments like yourself and many other college basketball, because it's fun. Like it's fun, and it's college basketball all day, every day, and it's rivalry games. It's great, but like it doesn't really matter. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter unless you're in a Missouri Valley or any one of these mid-major conferences where you have to win, otherwise your season ends. That matters. That matters. That stakes. That feels like a big game to me, even if they're smaller school.
The only ranked team that plays today, and most of them will get going tomorrow and even on Friday, but Iowa State plays today. Iowa State is an 8.5-point favorite against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a team that you're a little familiar with, but Connor Hickman's out for the year. Did you know that? Connor Hickman hurt his foot out for the year.
He's been injuries for like pretty much the whole second half of the season. Yeah, it was a tough go for him this year, which is unfortunate.
But he got paid.
Yes,
he got paid.
Yes. So.
All right, so that's what's going on today, tomorrow, Friday, and then we'll have we'll break it down next week. Next Tuesday will be our NCAA tournament show, and then of course Friday we'll have 16 teams eliminated by the time we get to Friday's show. All right, let me introduce what's going to happen now. We've got on our Twitter account the Stupid Show Madness. And I need all of you to participate. Here's what's going to happen. Tim has not been in any part of this discussion.
Correct.
He has no idea what's happening here.
No.
All right, so here's what happened. On our Twitter account for the next few days, several days, you're going to have an opportunity to vote for your college basketball team that is won. So if you know a college basketball program that won a national championship anytime from 1939 on, so any of the national champions, you have a chance to vote them as the greatest college basketball team of all time. That's what we're doing here. We took all the winners from 1939 on. We went to the handy dandy Chat GPT. Put them in there. I said, hey, rank these 68. Put them in order, 1 through 68. We have rankings out for all of the national champions. Now, some of them missed the tournament because there are more than 68 national champions. You want to know who the top seeds are, Tim? Are you interested in finding out who the top seeds are? Top seeds in the Stupid Show Madness. The 1972 UCLA Bruins at 30-0 are the top seed. The second seed, the 1967 UCLA Bruins, who came in at 30-0. The third seed, the 1973 UCLA Bruins, who came in at 30-0. So the top three seeds all belong to the Bruins. And then the fourth number one seed in the Stupid Show Madness is the 1996 Kentucky Wildcats. They came in at 34-2, and that'll be our top four seeds. Now, I'm going to bracket it out just like the NCAA tournament. So the play-in games are going to start right after the show today. Got play-in games. 65, 66, 67, and 68. Here they are. The 65th seeded team is the 1939 Oregon Ducks. I know we know nothing about them, but somebody out there might be a fan of the 1939 Oregon Ducks. They finished 29-5. They will play the last team that made the tournament, the 1944 Utah Utes, who won the national championship at 21-4. The other play-in game is going to be some Illinois ties here. The 1963 Loyola Ramblers. They went 29-2, and they will take on the 67 seed the 1942 Stanford Cardinal, who finished 28-4. Now, there were some teams that got left out. The 1960 Ohio State Buckeyes were 25-3, didn't make it. The 1958 Kentucky Wildcats, 23-6, didn't make it. The 1951 Kentucky Wildcats, 32-2, didn't make it. And the 1940 Indiana Hoosiers, 20-3, did not make the tournament. Voting will start this afternoon. Once the play-in round's over, we'll have a whole bunch in the first round to vote for. So voting for first round will go Friday, Saturday, and then move on from there. So that is the Stupid Show Madness on our Twitter account. We would love for you to join and share with others. Thoughts?
Rodney, putting this all together with the help of your friend ChatGPT, this is an incredible project. This is very exciting. So you decided that your ultimate goal here is to find who the ultimate college basketball champion is based on how our dumb audience feels. Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct. Our stupid fans can vote all the way to a champion of the 68 champions that we've had. Dan has a question for me. Does the 2013 Louisville count, or is their win vacated here too? They are eligible for the tournament at 35-5. Dan, they are the 26th overall, so they are looking at a 6 seed. They are looking at a 6 seed in the tournament. We'll find out who they play later today. The top 68 have been released, but yes, Louisville at the 2013 Louisville team is in there. By the way, my 2022 Kansas Jayhawks are 24th overall, so they're looking at a 6 seed as well.
I was going to ask you, so yes, without revealing too much, because I want you to have the privilege of being able to list the entire bracket and announcement. Can you give a couple teams that are modern? Because a lot of the top ones are old school. They're legendary teams, and they're deserving. Who do we have from the modern era that our young, hip, and cool audience would know and remember vividly? You mentioned your Kansas Jayhawks from just 3 years ago. That's a great example. Do we have a couple other modern day examples that you think are real contenders in this tournament here that can beat the likes of Kareem Abdul or of Lou Alcindor and UCLA, I should say?
Well, last year's UConn Huskies, the 2024 UConn Huskies, who finished 37-3, they are 7th overall, so they are a 2 seed. They are going to have an opportunity. Several Duke teams. The 2001 Duke team is 6th overall. The 1992, we all know the 1992 Duke team, the Christian Laettner team. They're 9th overall, so they're going to be a 3 seed. The Mario Chalmers Kansas team, they're 8th overall, so they'll be a 2 seed. Back in the 2001, the Scott Drew Baylor team, they're 13th overall. So they're looking at a 4 seed. Michael Jordan's 1982 Tar Heels, they're 17th overall, so they will get a 5 seed. So, yeah, there are some up there. And I think there's going to be some teams. There's going to be some upsets in this tournament. As Dan says, voting in this bracket solely on vibes.
Vibes.
What's the vibe?
Vibes per 40. Vibes per 40 specifically. That's advanced metric, Dan, but we'll let it slide for vibes. Vibes per 40.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see who our voters vote for. Put the vote out there. I would love for our voters to tweet every once in a while, quote tweet it, retweet it, whatever. That way others see what's going on. You'll get a day to vote for each game, for each set of games that day. So like today, you're going to get the opportunity to vote on 2 of the play-in games, and then we'll go from there. And so we'll spend some time seeing how the vote goes, and we'll spend some time Friday talking about the winners, and then next week we'll have some rounds done. So there we go. The Stupid Show Madness.
Is there a contingent? Well, first of all, bravo, excellent work, Rodney. This is wonderful. I'm very excited about it. Is there a contingency plan of sorts if Twitter shuts down like it did Monday, right as NFL free agency was beginning?
Yeah.
Do we have a back? Do we have this tournament ready to go on blue sky in case Twitter fails us?
Yeah, so I mean, I did check in with Elon, and he told me that I thought we'd be good. But no, I guess I'll put it. Yeah, Blue Sky. So I'll be honest, Tim. I forgot Blue Sky existed.
That's fine.
I really forgot Blue Sky existed. I got the account back. I don't know when was it when Twitter started charging us. Everybody was charging or whatever. And then we found out, okay, you can use Twitter for free. You can just only use a little bit. I got Blue Sky. Have not been on there in a while. I might, you could copy and paste. I could probably, but is there a voting option on Blue Sky?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, no real contingency plan. Just the reassurance from my buddy Elon that we're going to be okay.
Rodney and Elon, best friends. That's the takeaway here. But no, this is awesome. And voting starts today. Yes.
Starts today. Yes, I will release the rankings, release the seedings, and then the play-in games will get going today.
And feel free, by the way, if you have any sort of complaints of snubs of teams that didn't make it, treat this as if you would if this was like a real committee, right? Except instead of a committee, it's just one person. It's Rodney and ChatGPT, I guess I should say. Direct your complaints to him if you feel like your favorite champion from the last 100 years or so got snubbed. I certainly will. Are any Bradley championships there? Have they qualified? Because they have some NIT championships that would like a word.
No NIT winners were involved with this.
Oh.
Now that's not a bad option. We could do like the stupid loser show madness, and we could refer to the NIT as the losers. I don't know. We could include NIT champions in there. No. I don't want Bradley to be the king of the loser bracket. Do you remember back in the radio days when I put together March Sadness?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that was one of the years. I don't remember what year it was, but it was one of the years when the state of Illinois was dreadful at college basketball. Like dreadful. Like even Illinois was bad. The ISU teams weren't very good. Northern was terrible. Western. And basically took every team in the state of Illinois and put them in a bracket. And that was some ugly, ugly basketball. At least we're a little bit better this year. Like if we put a state of Illinois one together, Illinois obviously would be up top. But SIUE had a good year. Bradley had a good year. ISU was respectable at least this year. But even that year, I have to look what year that was.
Yeah. Even UIC was pretty solid too.
Yeah. DePaul wasn't great. Western wasn't great. But anyways, yeah. So this is kind of a different version of March Sadness because that year I don't think we got a single team in the NCAA tournament. I want to say it was 2013. I'll have to look that up. No, it wouldn't have been 2013. 2016. I want to say it was 2016.
I think 16 sounds right. Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on. Finish up the show with the best 46 or 48s. In sports, and Tim, I got to mention this real quick. I cheated a little bit on this one because this morning I was up early, and I asked our Twitter audience for some. So it's okay. Every once in a while, a little audience participation. And today I got some good answers. Let me run over the answers our audience gave us for best 48s in sports.
All right,
Rick Russell. Okay, Torrey Hunter with the Twins. Okay. Jimmy Johnson in NASCAR. Now, we haven't typically been including NASCAR, but Jimmy Johnson could be included in this if we wanted to be sports. Lee Smith wore 48. Met the big guy before. He's got hands about the size of a boat. He was at Farm and Fleet. We hung out there one time. I don't know this one as well. Wes Hopkins was a safety with Reggie White's Eagles defense of the 90s. I don't know that one as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for the audience participation. Several Rick Russell, several Torrey Hunters. But those are some decent names. What do you have in 48s?
So I also cheated a little bit. Now, I didn't ask the audience for participation, but what I did is I actually thought ahead. And the stuff that I had for 47 from last week, I was like, hey, why don't I just keep these open on my phone? and just change it to 48. So that's what I did. I've had them prepared. So I've gotten a chance for the last few days to just marinate on some of these names, so I can really just give you some guys that I think are best here. Yeah, I would say let's go sport by sport here, Rodney. So 48, yeah, I would say you guys nailed it. I think Rick Russell, Torrey Hunter, I think those are your guys. But how about Jacob deGrom? Spent 11 years as a number 48 with the New York Mets and the Texas Rangers. Jacob deGrom, when it's all said and done, might be right there with Rick Russell as one of the best players ever to wear number 48. So that would be the one add-on that I would have for baseball. Football, yeah, Wes Hopkins is a good option. Stephen Davis, do you remember the running back Stephen Davis, Washington, I think with Carolina? He was also one of the better 48s that we've had. There's a reason that no one's mentioned anyone from the NBA. It's because there's only been 2 players to wear number 48 in the NBA. Walt Gilmore, who I would not expect you to know because he only spent 1 year wearing number 48 with Portland in 1971. And Nazr Muhammad. Nazr Muhammad, I think, is the best player to wear 48 in NBA history. Just reflect on that for a second. Dwell on number 48, Nazr Muhammad. And then you mentioned Jimmy Johnson. And honestly, Jimmy Johnson, just based on the credentials, I think absolutely deserves a spot on the 48 Mount Rushmore. But there's also, Rodney, the college element of this. And how about Arizona State, Terrell Suggs as your number 48? Okay. 24 sacks. So in 2002, Terrell Suggs for Arizona State had 24 sacks, 31 and a half tackles for a loss, which set school Pac-10 and NCAA records. One of the best linebackers in the modern era of college football, and he happened to wear number 48 for Arizona State. So that would be the couple add-ons that I would have. So how do you want to do this Mount Rushmore here? Who do you think?
So I think
Perunovic. Do we do this? Is where we have to decide who we actually allow to be put on the show here. I love Dan. Dan and I are lifelong friends, but I don't think we need a Scott Perunovic graphic on the screen when we're talking about Terrell Suggs and Torrey Hunter. And I mean, I did mention Nazr Muhammad, but beyond that, Perunovic.
So I think our Mount Rushmore has to include Torrey Hunter, right?
I would put Torrey Hunter there. I think Torrey Hunter is a very deserving candidate.
I think it has to include Jacob deGrom, right?
Well, so technically, Rick Russell is the best MLB player to ever wear 48, just in terms of total WAR. That's it. That would be his number. Now, obviously, deGrom is more of my era. So I'll lead you to decide. Oh, a couple other hockey ones, by the way, that I didn't get a chance to mention. So Tomas Hertl, very good player, longtime San Jose Shark, current Vegas Golden Knight. And then how about Daniel Briere? You know Daniel Briere.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was a 48 too.
Yeah.
Is he Rushmore worthy? TBD. But just giving you some options here to mull over. I think I would say right now. I would say Jimmy Johnson and Torrey Hunter are comfortably on the Rushmore for me.
Yeah, but Lee Smith's in the Hall of Fame.
But did Lee Smith wear 48 enough? This is the same argument that we have every single day. Okay, so what he wore 48? He wore 48. Okay, so Lee Smith wore number 48 for 3 seasons with the Boston Red Sox, 88, 89, 90. Yeah. So this is Lee Smith near the end of his career as well. Not even with the Cubs or White Sox, which is where he's most known.
Yeah.
So I would not consider him there. Like Anthony Rizzo was 48 with the Yankees. Like I'm not going to do that. It's got to be your number.
All right, so we're going Torrey Hunter, Jimmy Johnson. What's your third choice? deGrom?
deGrom or Rick Russell. Because I mean, Rick Russell wore it for 18 seasons. Cubs.
Well, there's our 4 then, right?
Yeah. So we're not going Terrell Suggs. I don't think we want to go like Stephen Davis from the NFL. I don't think we want to go Danny Briere. Is it three baseball guys and NASCAR? Is this how we want to do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Okay. two pitchers, Troy Hunter and Jimmy Johnson. And thanks to Tyler for shouting out to Jimmy Johnson. I mean, I did know he was 48, but I probably wouldn't even thought of a NASCAR guy. I'll be quite honest with you.
I think that where we are overlooking some of the the race, the driver numbers. Like, for instance, I can't remember who we had for 44 when we did that. But like, for instance, like if we did the 44 Mount Rushmore, we could have included Lewis Hamilton, who was number 44, arguably the top Formula One driver ever, like right there with Michael Schumacher. So there are worlds of sports that we have not tapped into for these Mount Rushmores. And I think as we get into these numbers where it's a little bit harder just to think of guys like now that we're out of the 20s and 30s, I think we need to start utilizing any sort of avenue we can before we finish these Rushmores up.
All right, there we go. Well, there's our Mount Rushmore for show number 48. Show number 49 and the Mount Rushmore will come on Friday, just 48 hours away. 48 hours away. But you get to enjoy Hawaii until then. So, Tim, thanks for your dedication to coming on the show. Dan, we appreciate all of your comments today. 119 live listeners today. So Dan was really the only one raising his hand in class and joining the show. Make sure you sign up for our Substack. I will be throwing more NCAA picks at you. In fact, today should come here within the next hour. It is already set to be sent. Follow us on Twitter. No W at the end of it. And then, Tim, you get to tell us how you can listen to us other places.
In case you missed any of the previous 48 shows of the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth, go wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, iHeart. You can give us a like, give us a subscribe, rating, review, all of it. Let's pump up those numbers, shall we? And you can listen to any of our previous shows right then and there, including this one right now. So if you were like, oh my God, they're on in the morning, and you tuned in halfway through, and you're like, man, they must have talked about some really good NFL free agency, the top half. You'd be right, but you can go shortly after we sign off here and listen wherever you get your podcasts. So good job, everyone. Good job.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. We got an announcement to make Friday about partnering. We got a partnership going on, but I'm going to make that announcement on Friday. So make sure you stick tuned and jump in on Friday. We'll have that. And of course, the Stupid Show Madness going on starting this morning and moving on throughout the week. So make sure you get on our Twitter account, share that with others as well. All right, Tim, enjoy the island.
You too, right. Rodney. The island, the famous island of Illinois, as we all know.
I'll take us out today. For Tim Beast Mode Van Stratton, I'm Rodney Newpel in the alley here with the brick wall behind me. This is the Stupid Sports Show. We'll be back Friday, 8 a.m. Central Time, talking more NFL free agency, March Madness, Stupid Show Madness, and more. See you, everybody.
See you guys.
See ya.
Step right up, dummies, and listen to the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth with Rodney Newpel and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah.